A fiery on-air confrontation unfolded live on GB News as presenter Patrick Christys, a voice many viewers see as a champion of straight talk, went head-to-head with activist Fatima Mohammed. The exchange quickly escalated when Christys challenged what he described as her nonsense narrative on racism, cutting through her talking points with sharp criticism. At the heart of the clash was a heated national debate, the government's pledge to close hotels currently housing asylum seekers. What began as a policy discussion soon turned into a full-scale ideological showdown, raw, unfiltered and watched by millions across the country. It wasn't just another studio debate. It was a reflection of Britain's growing divide over immigration, accountability and truth in public discourse.
It's complete
fallacy. We cannot understand a mindset of someone.
It's a complete
well, you can, because
fallacy.
I went over there and spoke to them.
But it doesn't matter what the mindset is. If it's illegal, it's illegal.
It's very easy to say sitting here in a nice, cosy place when you have people that are suffering, that have issues, and of course, but the laws do allow them to come in. The laws do this.
I'm sorry, these are laws.
And there's no legal way.
Do you believe we don't have a right to protect our borders? Is that
absolutely we have to? That's what I'm saying. It's the government and not the migrants. If they have a situation,
what is the cap on how many migrants should be allowed?
Hold on. You're missing. You're missing a point.
Well, we don't even know at the moment what's happening.
Hold on. You're missing the point. These are illegal migrants. That's the first thing. They are illegal.
Well, if you want to go by the law, it's irregular.
You've said your piece. This is illegal migrants we're talking about, many of which have paid a lot of money to come here, many of which who are not seeking asylum. If we were talking about asylum seekers, different conversation.
Okay,
it's funny how you know everything about them.
Are you honestly telling me that if I don't know exactly where you live, but if
I live in Richmond,
the house next to you or flat next to you, whatever it is, was sold? And then someone bought it, maybe the government, and turned it into a 5-bedroom HMO and put a load of new arrivals in there. And then outside on your street or at your local park, there were tents full of people who just arrived in this country, that wouldn't bother you?
Do you know what? If people are being criminal and they're doing activities that are criminal, that would bother me more. You cannot just criminalise everyone just because they look different from you or they speak a different language and you have a perception and assumption which just, brushes everyone in the same sort of way, just from a few reasons. That is just dehumanising everyone.
I tell you why it wouldn't bother me, because it's a matter of scale. If you bring in a certain amount of immigrants that we can deal with, give them places to live, get them work, get them their children through school, absolutely fine. Where the problem lies is when you bring in so many that you can't administer your country.
That's government problem.
What about the other poor people who were born here?
Well, this is it.
You need to work with them too.
Fundamentally, I'll put this here, only fundamentally, I personally feel that people who are British, i.e. born here, who have chosen to live somewhere, a particular part of the country, of their own free will, who've worked hard, paid their taxes and abided by the law, do have a right to be concerned about whether or not local properties in the area they've chosen to live in, because they like that area, are going to end up accommodating, say, like 5 different Somali families or something like that. I think they've got a right to be worried about that.
Why should it matter where they come from, who's living next to you? We are in a society that it shouldn't matter unless, of course, they're doing something illegal and wrong. Why are you picking on certain groups and making it a problem because they're like that?
So you don't. I'm not making it a problem.
Yes, you are.
I'm saying that
that's what gives people the riots are happening.
I happily will. I think that people have a right to want to protect the culture and the identity of where they currently live.
Culture now. So that's going to become law. What does that mean, anyways? We are all different. We all have differences. We're sitting here and we're all 3 different.
Absolutely.
So what are you talking about? You are now picking about certain people from certain groups, and you are actually now demonising them because that's a problem. I do care.
British people saying that they have a right to want their own country.
What, just by their own people? Is that what you're saying?
To be a more homogenous and less kind of breakneck speed, rapid demographic change. That might not bother you, but it does bother some people, and they have a right to be bothered.
Well, that's not British values to have that kind of problem when you have that kind of, like, association with colour and caste and all of that kind of stuff.
God, I've never mentioned colour or caste once. I've mentioned culture. There are loads of different aspects to that.
There's so many different cultures within the British nationals. Do you know what I mean? You go to Wales, you go to Scotland, you go to up north, you go Midlands. It's all about that.
OK, what I will say about that is I think it's exactly that kind of attitude that leads to people getting incredibly angry, and it doesn't help.
No, it's your attitude that leads to people that are jumping on the bandwagon and causing these riots.
Absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
Let's march through the middle of this, right? There's two elements that concern me. One is purely about numbers and how we administer the country and how we look after the poor people we already have here.
Exactly.
Britain is full of poor people, and there's no doubt that if you have this level of immigration, you're going to have to juggle the queue around, and that means people don't perceive it as fair. That's got nothing to do with colour or caste.
Well, you mentioned it.
I never mentioned
You mentioned Somali.
Colour or caste.
You mentioned Somali people.
I'm going to move on from this because we do have the rest of the show, but I do suggest that you listen more closely in future and don't put words in people's mouths in an attempt to make them seem racist when they're not. Because I tell you what, it brushes off me. It brushes off me. I don't care about being called those things because I'm not. So I'm not going to have it on my show.
Tony Blair has spoken, and his words have sent shockwaves through British politics. Just days after Nigel Farage and Reform UK came under fire from young women on social media, Blair's latest remarks have landed like a political grenade, one that could reshape the entire election landscape. And if you thought the turbulence in British politics had peaked, think again. This is only the beginning. Farage's recent surge isn't just a win for Reform UK, it's a political earthquake. Once dismissed as a vehicle for disaffected, middle-aged men, Reform is now drawing unexpected support from a new and powerful demographic, Gen Z women. Support among women aged 18 to 26 has nearly doubled in a single month, rising from 12% to 21%. That's a seismic shift in modern politics. Farage, long caricatured as the embodiment of old-school masculinity, is suddenly connecting with a generation raised on digital activism, identity politics and frustration. These young women aren't confused, they're disillusioned. They're not turning to Farage so much as they're turning away from a political system that has failed them. Labour's performative feminism feels hollow. The Conservatives, meanwhile, project weakness wrapped in slogans. All the while, daily life has become harder, unaffordable housing, insecure jobs, unsafe streets. Into that void steps Farage, rough-edged, unapologetically direct, and defying every political convention. He says what others won't, calling out tokenism and focusing instead on tangible measures, scrapping the two-child benefit cap, offering tax breaks for couples, and supporting women who choose to spend more time raising children. No one expected such policies from Reform UK, yet here they are, overtaking Labour on social issues and leaving the Conservatives flat-footed. Farage's message has escaped the echo chambers of pubs and Facebook groups. It's now spreading across TikTok, classrooms and workplaces. Figures like Charlotte Hill, who joined Reform at just 14, are driving that momentum. And now, emerging from political silence, Tony Blair has issued a warning. The centre ground has collapsed. The man who once defined modern Labour now admits that the consensus he built is breaking apart. What was once fringe is fast becoming mainstream. The whispers in Westminster are getting louder. Could Nigel Farage actually become Prime Minister? What once sounded absurd is now being discussed seriously. Blair understands the magnitude of this moment. His words carry the weight of someone who shaped British politics and now sees that structure fracturing before his eyes. If young women, once Labour's most loyal base, are shifting towards Reform, the old political order is no longer intact. Labour is rattled, the Conservatives are panicking, and the belief that clever branding and social hashtags can win elections has crumbled. Farage has tapped into something far deeper, a sense of betrayal, a hunger for plain speaking and a demand for trust. Reform UK now boasts its first female MP, someone who doesn't ask for sympathy but demands a politics that values competence, safety and authenticity over slogans and symbolism. For years, Farage was dismissed as a relic nostalgic for a Britain long gone. But now, he appears to be shaping its future, embraced by the very generation that once rejected him. Meanwhile, Labour clings to old rhetoric, blind to the shifting ground beneath its feet. If Farage is achieving what once seemed impossible, and even Tony Blair is conceding that centrism has collapsed, then Britain is entering uncharted territory. On one side stands an electorate that feels ignored, overtaxed and underestimated, now coalescing behind a party that promises to put